Okay guys, so we have put together the leaven and the autolyse and let it sit, meaning the dough, for about 20 minutes. So now what I'm gonna do is incorporate 15 grams of flaky sea salt. I like the Morton's one. You can find this in the grocery store, but you don't want just regular kosher salt. You want it to be nice and big chunks of salt because it makes it so much better. So I'm first just gonna sprinkle it around, and then you're gonna see me start to nicely mix it in. So I'm gonna do that first, and while I am mixing it in, I'm going to try to explain how I incorporate sourdough bread and really get the dough to formulate together. Oh, also you want to make sure you wet your hands. I forgot about that part. If you wet your hands, you'll notice that the dough does not stick, and you can continually go back and continue to wet them if need be. Now, generally you want just one hand working with the dough. In the video I watched, I really want to say part of it is because of that, so you can hold the bowl together, but you just want to start really mixing in the salt. Getting it nice and gooey. And it actually, you can probably tell from watching this, but or at least I can tell as I'm touching it, that it's really starting to become nice dough, that the leaven's incorporated. You've let it sit to really get its form down. Okay, so that's about good. So now what I'm gonna do, it's called, I think you say it the rhubarb. I'm not really quite sure how to pronounce it, but it's a way to mix your dough and get it to take shape, but also you want your dough to kind of double in size roughly once you're done with the coil fold and this mixing method. So I'm gonna do this mixing method. It takes about 4 minutes. We're not gonna show all that because you don't wanna sit and watch me mix it, but I'm just gonna show you as best as I can how to do it. I'm still learning all the time, and I am getting more comfortable with it. It's definitely almost like a muscle memory, kind of like riding a bike. You have to practice it multiple times, so I'm a big perfectionist, and I've had to learn just to do it. So I'm actually gonna hold it up against my waist. Okay, so really, you want your hand to act like a dough hook, but depending on how you mix the dough, there's different processes. So this particular one is a scoop up and slap it to the side of the bowl. It really helps the dough come together in shape. So try to show it as best as I can. But you can tell I'm scooping it with my hand and smacking it around the side of the bowl. And you want to just keep doing this for about 4 minutes. Okay, so it is coming together very nicely, and you can, as you're mixing it, you can sort of see it's coming together like dough. Think of like a big dough ball that you might see at the grocery store or something, but it's come together. So I'm gonna cover it for 20 minutes, and I just mix this for 4 minutes, and I don't do a solid 4 minutes because it's tiring. So I mix it for 2 minutes, take a break, and then mix it for 2 more minutes. So now what I'm gonna do is cover the dough. I didn't bring my scraper, so I'm using a spatula, but you are gonna want to make sure, wet it, and then just scrape the sides with it as best as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. I recommend the Pampered Chef scraper. It's a really, really good one with forming dough. This is going to be my scraper for bread. So yeah, you just kind of want to clean up your mess a little bit and then cover it for 20 minutes to let it rest. And then the next and really final step before putting the bread, shaping it and putting it into the loaf pan is what's called the coil fold. So I'm gonna cover it and I will be back with that. Okay, so I mixed it for 4 minutes and I've let it sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. Just, you always wanna let your dough rest. If you mess with it, you wanna let it rest for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so this next process is called coil folding. And I just learned how to do it a month ago, but it's pretty much just shaping your dough. That's all it is. And also, remember, you want your dough to increase by about 50%. So this process is gonna help it as well. So in bread, and again, I'm learning this, so I'm not an expert, but this process that I'm gonna be taking the bread through is called bulk fermentation. So it's letting your dough rest, but also helping it take its form. So this particular way to do it is called coil folding. So it's 5 coil folds. I'm not gonna show you all 5, but basically I'm gonna show you how to do one of them. You do 1 coil fold, let the dough rest for 30 minutes, come back and do your second one. And you do 5, and then after 5, you let your dough rest for an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size of the dough, how it looks, and things like that. And then after that process is over, you shape your dough and put them in bread pans. So that's the last and final step. This is, to me, this is the easiest part. And it's actually, to me, it's a little bit therapeutic. I like this part. So wet your hands always. You're going to pick up the dough and let it fold underneath you. And you can do this once or twice. The blog that I follow to do this, so coil fold it, rotate it 180 degrees, and then coil fold the other side. That is really hard to say super fast. So you really want, hopefully you guys are seeing, but I'm stretching it and getting the dough to roll underneath. And you can kind of see, it's kind of making like a square shape. It's still coming out. It's gonna do that either way, but you're training the dough to do what you want it to do, to get its nice form for when you bake tomorrow. So I did that other side. I rotate it 90 degrees, and now I'm just gonna do both sides. One thing too, and it's not gonna do it this time because it's the first, but eventually, that was a good coil fold actually, if I do say so myself. Eventually, when you lift it up on one side, the whole dough is naturally gonna come up. And that really counts as doing both sides if you can get it to fold under. It depends on the strength of your dough. And I'll show you. So kind of like this, and again, it's weak right now. It needs to go through a couple of folds. So you're gonna kind of put it together. Now, this last part, again, if there's pieces of dough that have touched the side of your bowl, you wanna make it look nice and clean, nice and pretty. And that is a coil fold. You're gonna take your towel, cover it up. My hands still are gonna be a little bit sticky, but by this point in the process, you're not gonna get your hands super dirty, honestly. So I'm gonna just let it sit for 30 minutes and come back and do my second one. So again, that's 5 folds. And then after the 5th fold, you let it rest for an hour to an hour and a half. So this is the part of the process where you want to be at home. Really, when you start the rhubarb mixing, you want to be at home from then on until you get your dough in the fridge. So there we go. And then we'll come back and form them in the loaf pans when it's done bulk fermenting.